Hey everybody. We're going to be doing this time West March's writing. For any of you not familiar, I've been doing a West March's campaign for almost 2 years now, and for that I, on average, have about 2-3 sessions a week. So I'm constantly writing and updating my notes for this campaign. The next session that I have is in about 4 hours, and it looks like they're going to be checking out the rumor that they were given by another NPC of a Treant grove that's not too far from where they're at. This was kind of just something that I threw out there when they met a unicorn named Lord Albion. Somebody had asked if there was anything nearby that would be of aid or any factions nearby. And I was like, I haven't used Treants yet, so I threw it out in conversation, and that was only a couple days ago, so it seems that they've actually bit onto that and taken the hook, so now I'm on the hook for writing it. So this will be different and actually probably a little easier to digest for everybody watching, because this isn't going to be a full-fledged dungeon or anything, so this is going to take a huge amount of time to write. I really just have to create a faction and fill out just the basic population, motivations, and potentially things that they like and dislike. So be a quick one, and you can see how I create different factions within my West Marches campaign, because that's kind of how this whole engine turns, is that it's not necessarily about the main campaign arc that really makes it different from like a normal campaign that I run. What makes it hugely different is that I have so many factions out there that the players can either outright ignore or interact with, and those interactions, based on what characters go and their background and things that they've done and how they interact with these factions, can greatly change the motivations and goals of these factions, whether or not they're allied with them or not. So with the Treants, already in my mind, I've kind of had this idea that the Treants just have a grove that they protect, and they're pretty comfortable with just their forest being their domain and protecting all the wildlife in there. So it's very lush, it's very beautiful, and because of this protection that they offer, there are other fae that have come to either bask with them in just the beauty of nature, or help protect the wilderness that is there. So because these characters are now very high level, well, I guess very high levels, a little bit respective, right? So the average level of the group is 10 to 11. So they're, just hitting third tier. A lot of the characters, or some of the characters, are getting close to fourth tier, but a majority of them are just closing in on third tier or just got into it. So the kind of the knee-jerk ideas that I had were awakened trees, awakened shrubs, dryads, even wampus cats. But those are all very low CR, which is not terribly important when it's a neutral faction, but if fighting did break out, I don't want to just be a trounce. So while those creatures will be there, I'm not even going to worry about statting them out and making sure that there's population numbers and things like that, because the party can just wipe them out. And we can talk about another time where having things that a party can just destroy is worthwhile. But right now, we're trying to do something that is a faction that is dangerous for them to deal with if they do it wrong. So the two that I fell on are Treants. Obviously, it's a Treant grove. We have to have Treants. And they're pretty powerful. CR9 individually, and there's going to be multiple. So realistically, this is not, if they go into the Treant grove, there's no way that they can just outright try to fight these Treants. I don't see them wanting to. But you always have to have that contingency in your mind, because especially in a West Marches game, there can be evil characters. That characters maybe not necessarily evil, but have their goals directly the antithesis to some factions. So there might be ones that absolutely despise nature. So the Treants are there in forest, so they're very powerful. But I also wanted to add a little bit of flavor to it, and I was paging through Cobalt Press's Tome of Beast. If you don't have it, it's great. That and Creature Codex. I use every session, it feels like. But I found the Vila, I think that they're referred to as, maybe pronounced differently, but I'm going to be calling them the Vila, which, from my reading on them, they're basically pseudo-dryads. They're a fae that are less woody like a dryad, but they still follow a lot of the same flavor. but they are more almost like ranger dryad. They're much more feminine in their look instead of being bark-like, but they have like the fey horns, and it says that they not only ride on deer in combat, using the fleetness of the deer to go back and forth and fire arrows, but they have all kinds of these cool magic abilities to include being able to curse parties that fall asleep within their mushroom ring as they do a dance. And that can be detrimental if they do something to upset the Vila. Despite they're only CR5, so I'll need to have a few of them for them to pose any threat. But the fact that they can also do this kind of like low amount of curse, it only lasts for 24 hours, but it's cool. They also have a couple other magic abilities that play around with dominance, and the idea of the Vila is that they really like to force adventurers into the Vila's dominance of like, you have to go do this task for us, and that's one of the things that they really enjoy doing. So I really like that idea. I don't have a quest idea yet, but maybe we can figure something out right now. So the population of Treants, I'm going to say that there are 6 of these. So these Treants, right now, I'm probably not going to worry too much about naming them right off the bat. But if they start asking for names, I'll pop names. It's not that hard for me to come up with names on the fly. But 6 seems like a good population of these kind of near immortal creatures to be having there. There's 6 of them. They protect this grove, and that's a lot of CR9. That's pretty strong. That seems like enough for them to be able to do it. For the Vila, there's probably a population, we'll call it about 15 of those, and they have their deer and small animals around. So we have the basic structure of what their population is, and their goal is simple. Their goal is going to be maintain and protect their grove. They don't really have anything else that they want to do, but there are a lot of forces in the West Marches that would potentially try to take this out, especially if they're found out by various other enemy factions. Plus the players, if they really wanted to, it's a little bit of an underhanded way, but they could make a case that, something is coming for them, or the little less underhanded that eventually someone, once, the Unicorn Lord Albion, once his grove gets, because he's already been taken, but the players have been good about rebuilding and helping there, that they could potentially, whatever force did that, could move and take the Treants. So, and it sounds like their whole purpose for meeting the Treants is not only to meet a new faction, but potentially to earn their favor and have them as an ally. So, really, the motivation for the Treants, they're neutral. They don't want to deal with any of this, but they need something to spur them. So motivation none, but could be swayed with heavy-handed tactics. So if there was something that could really spur them to continue moving on. So when we look at it on the map here, I use Incarnate for map making, really good service, really enjoy it. So it's not a terrible travel for them. And then there's this node next to it. So that could be an interesting tie-in for why the Treants might, and especially the Vila, why the Vila may actually want the adventurers to do something in whatever that other node is, and then they would then back in the Treants be like, hey, these adventurers are actually pretty good, it sounds like they need help, maybe we should think about it. So that might be the ticket of what we think about. So I haven't used a green dragon yet. Maybe there's a green dragon over there. Green dragon would be pretty cool. So I actually wrote an article not too long ago about a green dragon, and I might just grab all that. So the idea of the green dragon was the green dragon has this menagerie of pets, and is just basically trying to stay alive and trick other creatures into working with the green dragon, basically doing the green dragon's bidding. So we can say that the Treants, the green dragon, we'll have to get a name at some point, has been encroaching on the Treant territory. And that would mean, we'll say that the Vila have scouted it, but the Treants are not quick to act. They don't want a full-out war with this green dragon, because a war with a green dragon is something that could hurt a lot of creatures. So, with the green dragon, I don't know if I want to do a full dungeon with it. I like the idea that the green dragon is in the forest proper and just has this, like, because of the just nature of the green dragon, just very overgrown maze-like structure, and uses its natural ability to move through these vines and trees without being broken apart. So this might be this almost like guerrilla tactic that this green dragon is doing. So I'll have to think about what might be helping the green dragon. That could be what the deal is. So let's check it out. We'll do. I like using Kobold Fight Club. Not necessarily, like, encounter building can help, but what I really like using it for is I have a lot of books that I have monsters from. So Volos, I use Monster Manual, I use Creature Codex, I use 5th edition Foes, and I use Tome of Beasts. So it's really hard for me to be like, I remember that creature in particular. So we're going to do Forest. We are going to do any evil. I want evil creatures. And then CR0. And we'll do up to, let's do up to CR13. I'm okay with any type. Alright, so we have a bunch of, Boreal Grapplers. Oh, I want to use one so bad. Let's see. So I can't show you anything that I'm looking at stat-wise. Like, you can see what's on Cobalt Press, but I can't show you the stat blocks because I'm afraid that Cobalt Press. I don't want them upset by showing stuff. So I'm gonna look at the Boreal Grappler, and it's really low CR compared to the party, but multiple of these in combination with even higher CRs can be super useful, and especially if the Boreal Grapplers were fighting while the dragon keeps coming in and doing these guerrilla tactics, no pun intended, because, Boreal Grappler looks like a big orangutan. So they're basically big orangutans with, like, serpent arms. Multiple attack. It does 3 attacks, but it's only got a +5. So that +5 means it's going to have a really hard time actually damaging anybody, or rather hitting anybody. So as much as I want to use the Boreal Grappler, I don't think it's going to work. And I know I could just level it up, but I actually find it easier to either just use a different creature and just call it an Boreal Grappler. Because I have all these books so that I don't have to write creatures, right? And sometimes I'll do it for, like, big NPCs, but for some throwaway mobs that the enemies are going to have to, or for the wow, Freudian slip. But for the players are going to have to deal with, I don't want to rewrite a Boreal Grappler. Someday I will use you a Boreal Grappler. So what do we got? Bugbear, Bokovac, Dustthorn Triad. I like the idea, but I always think the green dragon would have creatures that embrace the natural greenery, and Dustthorn Triad's just, and again, it's that low CR again. You know what? Let's pump this CR. Lower our numbers. See, CR4. Let's do CR5 as a minimum. See what we got. Arc Druid, maybe. That's not a bad idea. Having some individual who's out there helping out. Elder Shadow Dragon, probably not. Gnarlwood, what is a Gnarl? It's in 5th edition Foes. Okay, might have to check that out afterwards. We'll that over there so I remember. Green hags, nah. Hangman tree. I kind of like that idea too. Lightning treant. I do. We'll peek it out. It's probably a no, but all right, keep it going. Ooh, red caps. Red caps are actually super cool idea. I like that a lot. Little basically gnomish like barbarians. I like that. Rot troll, nah. Salamander scavenger, scythe tree. A little bit low CR for what I'm trying to do here. Let's look at it later though. All right, and then obviously we have the green dragon. We're probably gonna do. It's gonna be between a young green dragon and an adult green dragon. I'm leaning towards young, but man, they're so high level already that young. It's probably gonna have to be an adult. I think it's gonna have to be an adult. Yeah, we're gonna have to do an adult. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna go do some research on these because most of these are in 5th edition foes, which I'd have to like pull up. So we'll take a break real quick. I'll be right back. All right. So I did some reading on all the creatures, and what I really fell in love with was that I found that the gnarlwood that we were looking at earlier, and the gnarlwood has a really good effect where it's actually a treant where the seeds were planted in an evil area, and it managed to grow despite all of that destructive evil tendencies, and created basically just a super evil treant. So I like the idea that this green dragon is stealing treant seeds and doing what it can to cultivate them and grow these gnarlwoods to create its own army, using the treants, basically unknown to them. Then I found that the gnarlwood has the ability to where it actually gives advantage on attacks and saving throws to undead within its aura, its unholy aura. So I wanted something undead to use that, and then I remembered, thanks to Cobalt Fight Club, that there is something I've been wanting to use as a creature codex called Unhatched. I haven't found a way to use them yet. Unhatched are basically baby dragons that never survived. They literally unhatched from their eggs, never got nurtured, any of that, and are, through malevolent means, are turned into baby skeleton dragons that hate anything that's been nurtured. So I thought that was perfect, that not only the green dragon taking the seeds from the treant, but it's using its own failed eggs, or maybe even purposely failing them, to create dragons that can help it with the help of the gnarlwood, but not something that can usurp it. And so it has this entire small army of unhatched and gnarlwood that it's building and attempting, and is going to soon start taking over different areas using it. So that's what I'm going to be rolling with. So we're going to do gnarlwood. Let's say that it has managed to cultivate 2 gnarlwoods, 2 of them. They're very difficult, it takes a long time, so the dragon has only been able to get 2 gnarlwoods. As for the unhatched, each of them CR4. That's going to be, let's say, unhatched. Let's say that there are 7 unhatched. It's a lot of unhatched, but ideally, once we get this figured out, they're not going to be fighting everything simultaneously. Plus, there is going to be an adult green dragon in the midst of all this. I was thinking about adding red caps as well, but I think that's just a little much, and I don't really think it fits with the theme. So our green dragon, of which we'll get a name, simple motivation of just trying to gain more power, and wants to steal away important figures among the Treants and other groups. And it's just starting to do that. So if they don't deal with this green dragon, it may start directly interacting with these other factions and taking, either through deception and persuasion, or by stealing them away, very important figures in other factions becoming stronger. So I think we're good. The likelihood is that they will fight a Gnarlwood with 3 of the Unhatched, and then if they continue on, they will have to fight a Gnarlwood with the other 4 Unhatched while the Green Dragon is kind of harrying them. And if they manage to defeat that without running away or anything like that, then it'll be the Green Dragon fighting them directly. And I might throw a couple of the moths in from either 5th edition foes or the Creature Codex, depending on how the fight is going, to make it a little bit more challenging or not. But this is already pretty hard fight, and I like the idea that they are interacting with this Green Dragon before it has fully reached its plan, that they could potentially defeat this dragon before it gets to another height of its strength, specifically in the faction that it's upholding. So you can see that there's not a lot of notes here, but with the ideas that I have and everything that I've written, I can basically run, probably, depending on their timing and their pacing on this could be 1 4-hour session, or it could be 2 sessions that altogether equal 6 to 7 hours. And that's just looking at, they have to get there, which there's, role playing that happens before they even travel. Then there's traveling, and then they have to go talk to the Treants. That's, how long it takes them to find the Treants based on their travel rolls. And then once they talk to the Treants, they have to make a decision if they even want to go deal with this dragon right off the bat. They could just say no, that they just, because something could happen on the traveling that could weaken them, or they just don't feel comfortable when they hear the term dragon. They fought dragons before, and they know how deadly they are. So they could feel unprepared and just be like, we'll tell the others and we'll come back later. Or they could go right for it. So we'll see how all that goes. Hopefully this was useful to you. If it was, let me know. If there's something that you want different, let me know that as well. There'll be more of the West Marches stuff. It's probably going to be one of the most common uploads because I have to write for them constantly, always writing all week. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.